Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Carpio Corner, episode 15.
Whoa.
Chris, do you want to share with everyone what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the effects of media consumption, which is kind of ironic because you're currently listening to media.
Yeah.
But we're going to be talking about kind of what our relationship can look like as Christians in regard to that. So we're going to talk about our personal testimonies when it comes to media and how that's impacted us. And, you know, that might be something that you resonate with as a listener. And then we're also going to be talking about the negative side of media. So just like straight up, like what are the negative impacts of media within our lives, especially our lives as believers. And then finally, what our recommendations are when it comes to trying to discern what a filter might look like when it comes to what kind of media you're going to be consuming. So if those things sound interesting to you, make sure you stick around. All right, Glow. So off the bat, we got to start off with what we're drinking. Which story today, I was in the office. I was pastor of the day, so I didn't get a chance to actually go out and buy my drink. But Gloria said that, what did you say again?
Well, I asked you what you wanted to drink, and you didn't tell me, so I just guessed.
You asked me?
I did.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, you told me no stress. I said, okay.
Oh.
And I got
think
you that.
I only read the first part of the message.
Oh, that's okay.
Dang.
Well, what are your thoughts? You haven't even opened it yet, do you?
Oh, well, it's an orange thirst quencher, which I've...
AKA Gatorade.
Yeah. Which, I've had this before.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was going back and forth.
You know, whenever I drink
things,
Gatorade, I just instantly am reminded of the feeling of being sick.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 6.
No, sick.
Oh.
Like ill.
Oh, I'm
because
sorry.
You don't have to apologize. It's just because when I'm sick, I like chug Gatorades.
Yeah, it's true.
So I drank that and I was like, oh, dang, flashbacks.
Well, I know you get Red Bull so often, and I wanted to get something a little bit better for you.
Yeah, for my health.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. How about you? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking... Do you like vitamin waters?
I love vitamin water.
I should have gotten you one.
That's all right.
Next time.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a dragon fruit vitamin water Power C.
I remember when they first came out, vitamin waters.
They're so good.
They were like the thing.
I know.
Now it's body armor.
I don't know if that's the
I don't even want to taste that.
Now it's like, well, it was Celsius.
I look at it and I think, that looks like tomato sauce.
Thick.
Yeah.
It tastes thick.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It tastes like.
Yeah.
If you had body armor, just let us know. You know, is it a go, recommend, or don't recommend?
Yeah.
I don't know. But you want to jump in?
Sure. Well, I'm also interested to see if people can guess what our topic was. You know, based off our hint on our Instagram story.
So what, do you want to wait to find out?
I mean, we'll have to wait. I'm just saying that's something I'm curious about.
Okay.
But we can jump in.
Okay. Yeah, we won't be able to find out for like a while, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll check at the end of the episode because maybe they'll respond by the end of the episode.
Maybe.
So for those of you who don't know, we have an Instagram. That's where we basically bolster our community. So if you're not following us on Instagram, make sure you do. It's just the Carpio Corner. We also started a Threads account today.
We did.
We're with the times.
Yeah.
Which has to do with media consumption.
Yeah.
Again.
I still have no idea what to do on it, and we'll have to figure that out. Because I'm confusion.
Your confusion.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's actually jump into it this time. All right. So today we're talking about media consumption and talking about our personal impact on it. Is there any story that you brought to the table that you'd want to talk about, kind of off the bat?
Not necessarily. I feel like I have come a long way in terms of media. I used to have some unhealthy habits when it came to social media. I used to have every type of social media, and I would just want to feed my mind constantly, and it wasn't even it wasn't generally Christian things, and I didn't really see a problem with that until college came around, and then I was a little bit I don't really need all of these things. And I feel like I've just come a long way, and now I'm a little more minimal, and yeah, but I don't really have necessarily a story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to share?
Maybe it'll inspire a story in your head.
Maybe.
So I have 3 different types of media that have made different impacts in my life over the course of my life. The first one is Dangerous Calling, which is a book, and it's kind of like about a lot of unspoken things about being a pastor. And I just feel like it's like good if you are going into a profession, or if you're interested in a profession, to be able to read either like a biography or some kind of like insights into that profession. Like, what are the pains, what are the joys, what are the temptations that all like come in that place. And I really, for the first 2 years of my time in ministry, I read that book each year. Because I just like wanted that refresher. I wanted that foundation. There's like a lot of things that, you know, he says in that book that I felt really made an impact on me. And even like my future marriage, like with you, even before I had met you, because he shapes a lot of things. Like, for instance, he shapes things in regards to like your personal relationship with God as a pastor. Like, how are you nurturing that, and how are you being intentional in that growth, but also maintaining that humility. Basically, it was a lot about humility. You know, like, how can you step into a role that's like very much at the forefront of people's eyes and minds, and still maintain a posture of humility in like a really authentic way. And the like main thing is just like remembering that you are a broken human in need of a savior. You know, like, that's still who you are. That's always who you'll be, because you know, it doesn't matter what your title is. It's just like where you stand before God. But because of Christ, you know, you're redeemed. But even in regards to the relationship that you'd have with your wife, he said one time that I think someone had come up to him. I had heard a similar story even to this, that another pastor had shared with me, about someone coming up to his wife and saying like, oh, you must, no. He actually said this. He was just like, you know how many people would want to be married to me? He said that to his wife.
Oof.
Yeah. Your face. Yeah. No, he said that. He was like, you know how many people would be lucky to be married to me? Like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously he didn't literally get slapped in the face, but I think he got slapped in the face with the reality of just like how arrogant that statement is. And it's because his position allowed for him, or he allowed for his position to like boost his ego, rather than acknowledging that the work he's doing can only be done through the power of the Holy Spirit, you know? And then another pastor had said to me, we're just kind of further affirming the dangers of the role and the importance of being cognizant, was that a woman came up to this pastor's wife and said like, oh, you must be like so lucky to be married to this person. Like, you must be so blessed. You must wake up every day and be the happiest woman in the world. And she said, he still throws his underwear in the corner like everybody else. And I was like, dang, that's real. And it's just like, you're just that kind of media, like helping to shape one of the things that you're going to spend the most amount of your time on, and the most amount of your investment, and that's going to occupy the most amount of space in your head. It's just like really important to make sure that the kind of media you're allowing into that place of your life that's going to help to form who you are in your profession is the kind that's going to build you closer to Christ, you know, or allow for your character to be more godly, because not everybody has a profession that's like in a spiritual role. You know, some people are like accountants, or some people are just like lawyers or something, but can you find someone who's written something, or a video or a podcast that is talking about how to do that profession with godly character? And that godly character, again, might not be like, hey, here's 5 ways to be a godly like lawyer or something like that. It might just be like, hey, here are 5 ways to make sure that you are, you know, keeping your integrity as like a lawyer, you know, and just allowing for that form of media to like, you know, take your time type of thing.
Yeah.
So that was one of them.
Okay.
That spark anything in your brain?
Well, I guess I hadn't thought too much about books yet.
Yeah.
And I do feel like my relationship with what I read and also what I listen to are like a few big areas that have changed over time, because like I think I started a book club like a year ago. And mainly what I read is the book that we're going through. And I mean, the book club, it's been just a great place to foster conversation around what the book is talking about. So like the first one we read was Emotionally Healthy Spirituality.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the one we're reading now is called, I think it's like The Most Favorite Place on Earth or something like that. And it's about homemaking and actually more about parenting than I realized at first, but it's been really good to read. And most of my like high school and even college, I would read, but they were kind of just like fun books or like young adult, fiction and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there are so many good books out there, and kind of like you were saying with the Good Pastor book, it's just like you can learn so much from books rather than like solely just entertainment.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, these two books so far have been really good in terms of like spiritual health, just even reflecting.
Yeah.
Like I've never been that good at reflecting. And I mean, the past year, even since getting married or like engaged, I've been reflecting a lot more on like my life. And these books help that.
Yeah.
And just finding media that like the consumption is for good rather than just entertainment, which I mean, we do that too.
Yeah.
Like, but making sure you have that as well, I think is really important.
Yeah.
And I was also going to just mention music, because I feel like that's also changed, because I used to just listen to whatever. Like the newest hits was my go-to, and I haven't really been that big into like the newest pop for a while, and I basically cut out like if you got a bad mouth in your songs, I'm probably not really gonna listen to you. Yeah. Because it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't sound like good music anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of the pop music is, just about like immorality, and that's all they sing about. Yeah. And there's so much else you can fill your mind with in music, because music affects you more than you think. And I know your sister has even talked about that, both your sisters. Yeah. And so, those are kind of stories, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. No, I think that definitely speaks into your personal experience with that, because I feel like that is like an evolving relationship that we have with like media, like also just like art, like what art is good to consume, because just because something's art doesn't mean that we should take it in, kind of thing. Another thing that I had was a podcast, which is like meta right now. But there's this podcast that I listen to, which I don't wholeheartedly recommend, just because there, I feel like, have been aspects of the podcast where I'm like, I'm not really sure wholeheartedly what this guy is like kind of putting forth in terms of beliefs, but in terms of like leadership development, have been really good. It's called the Grow Leader Podcast. And that has just been another place where it's like, Gloria knows, like I'm kind of constantly consuming like information. And so one of the things that I like to do is to, like I said earlier, like consume things that actually help to like build me up. So that's one of the ones that helps me to continue to further my calling and grow in my like skills like as a leader, and challenge me from different perspectives, which is kind of the beauty again of media. Like media has the opportunity to open your eyes to things that you yourself are not seeing, but many others have seen. And we live in a time now where wisdom and skills are more easily accessible to us than they ever have been in the past, where like maybe in the past you'd have to have like a connection to one of the most successful people in the world in order to be able to glean wisdom from them. Now, like some of the most successful people in the world are like, here's my wisdom in a podcast, and like I'm just gonna go ahead and like share it with you for free because I just like to talk, And so like whenever you find opportunities like that, it's just like take them, because it's really good. And maybe that means that you step away from our podcast for a little while, but you know what, I'm okay with that because you should grow. So then the next thing is a movie. I have a movie.
Okay.
But this one, I kind of like made notes next to each one. So this one's called Silence, and I've told you to. We
We've watched
eventually,
it together.
we eventually watched it. There was like a couple of times where I was like, we should watch it, and then I was like, oh, it's too long. But then
you would say we should watch it, and then every time we got to the TV and I'd want to watch it, you were like, it's too long.
It is long. It's a long.
It is
movie.
long, but it's so good.
It's crazy. So
yeah.
Here's something that I think you should, when considering media, consider media that provokes your faith. Now, by this, I don't mean like causes you to like deconstruct your faith or causes you to want to leave your faith or anything like that. Like, I think that kind of media you shouldn't allow like into your life, unless you're like in a really safe environment where you and a mentor are like sitting down with something like that. Yeah. But I do think that like if it asks you questions about what would I do in that scenario as a believer, then it's probably a good piece of media to consume. Because the reality is now for us as Christians, there's a lot less places in our lives, at least in the time being, where we are being actively pushed to think about either persecution or our faith being like, actively challenged. And maybe like our faith can be actively challenged if we're like going forth and evangelizing and stuff like that. But if you're not doing that, then maybe you're not thinking about those things. And all I'm saying is like, watch something that makes you think about that. So the movie Silence is basically about two Jesuit priests that go to Japan to like share their faith. And one of the things that provoked my faith in that movie is the way that it ends. It ends in such a way where I'm like, I watched the movie probably 4 times now, and I sat with it and I was trying to discern, is a decision that the Jesuit priest made at the end still a God-honoring decision, or is it actually something that is not God-honoring? Mm-hmm. And did he actually like choose the path that Paul would have condemned kind of thing, and it's because of the complexity of the human experience that it causes you to sit with it and really wonder like, okay, as a human, what do I want to say the answer is? But as a Christian, what do I really know the answer is, And I'm not to say like, I don't believe in people being able to lose their faith or anything like that, but just like, in some ways, it actually does kind of provoke like the unpardonable sin, which is like the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit in some way. And so it kind of touches almost like in that ground in some way. Not exactly in that way, because I'm not spoiling the movie for you, because it doesn't do that exactly, but it gets close to that, which is then what really provokes your faith almost in some way. So that's one thing. But that was all I had in terms of personal impact of media on me. Those were like the 3 things that came to my mind like right away when we started talking about the topic.
Okay. Yeah. I started thinking about social media too, and just the growth that has come from that, and not letting that like control me. Yeah.
Okay. So like, what do you mean by that? Because that's actually just like when I have like the negative side of media, and it's literally Instagram.
Really?
Yeah, for me.
Mine is like Snapchat.
Snapchat's
I haven't
on
had
there too.
Snapchat for at least a year, maybe probably more than that. But that was just because of like self-image things. Like you're seeing your face on Snapchat constantly.
Yeah.
Every time you're gonna answer somebody, like you see your face, and I would just be like, I look like that right now. Like why? I feel like I need to like fix myself. One, that's not even what you look like. Yeah. Because it's like a phone camera. Yeah. And it's just not accurate. And 2, to be constantly like making yourself possibly self-conscious that way. Yeah. It just got too much. I was like, I'm over this. Like I don't want to be looking at myself all day. Yeah. And also, you can like text people what you're doing. Yeah. And text them pictures of like what you're doing. If you want to do that, it doesn't need to be through Snapchat. And that's probably the most social media struggle I've had. Yeah. In the past, like Twitter as well just sent me down, like that was a downfall. I don't know what was wrong with my Twitter, but every time I downloaded Twitter again, it was like giving me just not good things. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not asking for this. The same thing with TikTok. I don't even write TikTok down because I forget sometimes that that's like a social media because I just don't have it, because to me it's just awful.
Yeah.
Every time I'd look at it, I would like download it here and there for like on and off for a couple years, and every time I'd pick it up, it would be something awful on my screen.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I'm deleting this again. What the heck are you giving me?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you put Instagram.
We have a TikTok, but I never look at the homepage. I literally go on there, I post, and then that's it. I just walk away.
Good.
Yeah.
And Instagram, I haven't really had a struggle with, other than, you know, scrolling for too long on Reels sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is unhealthy. But I don't know. To me, those other ones in the past were just like actually bad content that I was receiving.
Yeah.
Why do you say Instagram?
Well, it's interesting because like when it comes to just hearing your experience with Snapchat and with Instagram, I feel like they're different probably for guys in some way. I don't know though, you know, like
there's some guys
maybe, yeah. You know, like because I didn't have an issue of self-image on like Snapchat and stuff like that. Mine was more like it was just too promiscuous. Like it was like, oh, okay, like all of my messages and like all of my photos, you know, like, oh, like none of my conversations are ever going to be like forever kind of thing. And I mean, I haven't had Snapchat since I was like in college. Like that was my freshman year, and then like temporarily for like a week or two or something like that when we like got married or something like that. But then it was gone again, and I haven't really touched it. But like just that whole earlier like high school part of my life, like it was just like it was like a temptation that I just didn't really want to like be there, and it was like hard for me, you know. It was just like that's just how Snapchat was for me. It was just like it was too secretive in like some ways.
It is.
And now I know it's not. I think people are more cognizant, I hope, that it's really not secretive, you know, like it's like whatever you send to someone can easily be like captured kind of thing.
Yeah. I still feel like teenagers who have it, you know,
maybe don't think
things
that.
Still disappear.
Yeah, but they don't really like I feel like you really thought that they disappeared when it first came out, and now you really don't think they disappear.
Yeah, I think you can save conversation.
Yeah, it depends, I think, how you send it. Look at us, we're so old, we don't even know what we're talking about anymore. And then Instagram was just like a comparison game. So for like me, it was like looking at what other people are doing in their lives and just thinking like just because it's the highlight reel, you know, like Instagram's like the highlight reel, and just the frustration like of that, but then also like dependent on like the amount of like likes that I would get on something or something like that. Like those kinds of affirmations would like get to me, and I didn't like that. I didn't like how that was like taking space in my mind, and the space in the absence of those likes would just sit anxiety, you know, and like I don't need that anxiety in my life. Like so you just like chop it off and then you're done. It's like I don't think about it. It doesn't like preoccupy any more daytime in my life, where before it like actually it did. Yeah. But also just like word of advice, if you are on Instagram and you're falling into that comparison game, just delete it, you know.
That's true.
Like there's like 1,001 reasons for you to keep it, and none of them are good for you, you know. And also none of them are the only way. Like you might say, oh, well, I can't keep in touch with my friends. Get their phone number, you know. Oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, I can't message them. It's like use Messenger. Like Messenger is intertwined with Instagram now, and so you can literally still message people without having like your Instagram. And also for guys, like I know that this is not a struggle for me, but I know that I've had students who've like told me that the Explore tab is something that's like a struggle for them. And so it's like, if you find that, maybe you're not going to like Pornhub or something like that, but you are going to Instagram, you know, like this is kind of the same thing
that's
here.
One thing I wrote was about the algorithms, because I feel like it can and can't learn you. Like, it is true that the more of what you press on is the more of what it's going to show you. Mm-hmm. And so even if you're like scrolling past it, it's still like coming up on your screen.
Yeah.
So it's still going to keep showing you what it thinks you want to see.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get out of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. I think that's why, I don't know. I mean, I personally haven't really had that struggle on Instagram.
Yeah.
Not really the comparison either for myself, and that's why part of the reason I still have it. Also, I need to keep up now with that account. But I like, it is still, it can be addicting to just scroll, like wake up in the morning and scroll on reels, and then actually be like, wait, this is not okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's after half an hour that I'm like, get out of bed.
Yeah.
You can do something else with your time right now. You can go make a good breakfast. Like, I've been trying to rewire a little bit, like in the mornings, not just going on my phone and being like, I can get up and have like 10 more minutes to make some coffee or like sit down and do my Devo while I eat breakfast, or just like get out the door a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Like, those things should be more appealing than picking up my phone.
Yeah.
And if they're not, then there's probably an issue there.
Yeah. It's like a little drug. Like Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, you know, all of these things are like literal drugs. And so it's like, if you find yourself, here's my advice to you. Ready? I want you to grab a piece of paper, grab a piece of pencil, grab a piece of paper and grab a pencil, and write down every reason why social media is good for you, whichever one it is, right? And then write down every reason that it's bad for you. And then look at that list and then come to a conclusion and then make a decision based off that conclusion. And just actually like own that decision. Don't be like, oh, well, you know, even though all of these things, still this, you know, like just make that decision and just like cut it out. Like, if you need to cut it out, cut it out. There's other ways to be like connected with communities. Like, maybe it's even this one. Maybe you're like, man, Instagram's so hard for me. Like, I can't do it. Like, it's too tempting, or I'm on it all the time. I need to cut it out. But if I cut it out, how am I going to know what's going on in the podcast? You know, it's just like, that's okay. We're still here. You don't even need social media. Just go on Spotify,
it's true.
You know, or like we even have like questions that you can answer directly, like on Spotify. Like, for every reason that you might think is a valid reason to stay on social media, there's an actual reason not to be on it, you know? And so it's like, dang, I guess we got to delete our social media account now. No.
I think that it takes discernment, definitely.
Yeah.
Like
if it's a problem for you. Like, if that's what I'm saying. Like, not just like you can't have it. You know, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, if it's really something that you're struggling with and you're like not sure whether you should keep it or not, just write out the reasons why.
And you won't miss it. Like, you might for a bit.
I was going to say, I think you kind of will.
I miss Snapchat for a little bit. But, like, I've been over it, and you will get over it. And I was like, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok.
Yeah.
Nope. That's out.
Yeah.
And, like, I know that.
But it'll come in waves, too, because, like I said, it's an actual addiction. And it's like a habit that you formed.
Yeah.
You know? And it's really hard to break habits. So.
Yeah.
That's basically.
Yeah. That's why we want to, like, give these recommendations of how else to fill your time.
Yeah.
Because it is true that, you know, scrolling fills time that might feel empty and you don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
And even, like, awkward time, like silences. You know? Like, you're standing in a line, you just want to pull out your phone.
That's kind of like the wild part, is like that there was just a time where that wasn't an option.
I know,
you know,
where you actually just stood in line.
Or like, do you feel dead when your phone is dead?
Ooh. I think it was cool. We were, just an example about waiting in line, when we were at mini golf on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we had like a little bit of a wait before we had to do the first hole over because we skipped it at the beginning. And Chris just like started talking to the people in front of us in line.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is cool.
I don't know why I did that, but.
Well, it's a good example.
Yeah. I was just like, hey.
It was for the moment.
What did I even say to them? I don't even remember. I broke the ice.
I think you asked like, so are there stakes?
Oh, yeah.
For like, who wins?
Because we always compete against each other.
Yeah.
And they were like, bragging rights.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
It's kind of lame.
I was like, you should do ice cream.
Yeah. Just because we got ice cream.
Yeah.
Because we died.
Yeah, we died.
Crazy.
Dang. All right, so let's finish off with our recommendations.
All right.
Do you have any?
Yes. So it's hard because when I was thinking of recommendations, I was trying not to think just personally about, like, for me, for example, Pinterest has been like literally a lifesaver for me. But I've heard of people struggling with Pinterest.
Too many boards.
I don't know.
They're making boards.
I think it's what pops up like in the recommended, but I think it really is algorithm, because for me Pinterest is solely recipes and like hair DIYs that I don't use. But the recipes though come so in handy. I meal plan every week and grocery plan based off of Pinterest. Basically only Pinterest. So that's technically a social media, but it's without like other people, because you're only getting ideas. Like it fosters my creativity in some senses for like house decor and different things like that that I want to see, but it's taking away like the likes and the comments and things like that. And so that's something like I would almost recommend, because I've had such a positive experience with it, but I think it's just different for certain people. For most social medias, you really have to discern what you're consuming through it. And like even Instagram, I feel like I get more positive than negative through it, but that's just me, and it really just depends on the person. And so that's not like, I don't think I would recommend Instagram to somebody just because it is dangerous, especially the comparison game. But I do enjoy Pinterest when it comes to like media consumption. And then I also wrote down 2 other ones that are just apps that I think are cool. And one of them is Strava. Because it's almost a social media where you see what your friends are doing when it comes to running and biking, and you can give kudos to people and you get kudos for like the activity that you put on it. And I've just been really encouraged by it. So
that's good. It's good to help you finish your goals and stuff like that, for sure. Because then you're like not alone in it. And
then I also put YouVersion.
Oh, yeah.
The Bible app.
Because that's almost like a social media.
It almost is, because
It's like a weird relationship, social media, though. Because, like, Blank just highlighted these passages, and then they're like, these 5 people are inviting you to start a Bible study with them. And they're like, I can't do all 5.
Oh. Well, I guess I don't get invites to Bible studies.
Oh.
I just think it's cool because I have like some cousins and aunts and uncles and grandparents and stuff on there. And you can see like when they do highlight scripture, you can see when they do their morning devo in the morning, and they see like when you finish a plan or highlight scripture, and they can like it. And it's like kind of cool to share and like almost be encouraged to like, oh, look at them, like they're in the Word today, and you're in the Word today, and they see that too. And I just think like it is a Bible app, but it's also a way to just like connect in that way with friends and family. That it's like social media, but it's not. And I just think those were 2 like pretty encouraging apps that I do have. Those are kind of the social media recommendations. I have other ones, but do you want to share?
I guess we were kind of thinking different when it comes to what we were thinking about in terms of recommendations, because I was thinking more like, what's a principle that you can take?
Okay.
To kind of like
definitely
apply.
Thinking differently. I have like music artists and stuff like that. That's kind of cool though. We just are coming from different spots.
I was also thinking about like, I think I want to tack on some things when it comes to the negative side of media. Like, I think you should discern. No, actually, this is just going to be part of my recommendation. So, when it comes to finding media that you should consume, consider the kind of media that's like an apple or a salad to you. Right? You can just tighten this right there. Just Yeah, there you go. Consider media that's like an apple or a salad to you. Okay, and the reason that I say that is like, for me at least, I don't like salads, and for me, like, I'm okay with apples, but it's like an apple a day keeps the dentist away or doctor away. Doctor. Maybe it actually brings the dentist to you if you like lose a tooth or something. I don't know. But the point is basically the things.
Convince yourself you don't need apples.
The point is that like you should be consuming things that are just like healthy for you, even if you don't necessarily want to. Okay. So maybe you don't like to sit down and listen to a sermon because, you know, the speaker's not the most engaging guy or something like that. But you know that what he's saying is something that's going to bring fruit to your soul, you know? Or maybe you don't want to like listen to Christian music on your way to work because you want to get like hype beast mode, you know? And it's like, well, you know what? What's going to put you in the right place before you enter into the workspace? Like the things that are like apples, it's like an apple a day keeps the devil away, you know, like that kind of thing. So like, and I don't think that it has to be like, okay, you can never listen to non-Christian music, or you can never watch like a secular movie, or you can never watch like your favorite YouTuber or something like that. You 100% like do those things, you know, like watch those things, but be careful where you allow them into your life. You know, like, are you going to be doing something? Are you going to be going and starting your day like that way? Or like allow those things to be like the snack, but don't let those things be the main course. And I think
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I think that's like the hard balance, because junk food is so easy. And that's literally how media is created now. Media is created to be the junk food for your brain. You know, like when, even for us, like, when we're making like thumbnails and stuff like that, there's like a whole science behind how you create those in order to be able to grab the attention of the person, because thumbnails in the first 5 seconds of your video are the most important part of capturing an audience. And so the people who are like doing millions of billions of views, those are the people that have like hijack the process and are now like just serving you the most junk food that you can get. Like our podcast is not the most engaging podcast because we're not talking about the most like outlandish things, you know. This isn't like TMZ or something juicy, you know. Like it's just like, hey, this is how you can grow your faith, or this is how you can grow your relationship with God, or with your wife, or with your husband, or with your, you know, boyfriend or girlfriend or something like that. Like those are the things that we're covering, and not everybody wants to listen to those things, but we do it because this could be the apple, you know, this could be the salad. And
I think you mentioned something too that we didn't even really touch on that much, but it's also a big thing, is how our media input is affecting our relationships with each other. I mean, I think you can take the comparison game into that, because you don't want to be comparing yourself and even coveting like the life of somebody else or what somebody else has that could be a friend. And then like that could affect your friendship negatively, and they could be like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah,
you
like
know?
why are you so jealous of me or something? Or like why do you have this resentment towards me? And it's like, because you posted that picture of your Bugatti on Instagram and now I mean,
or
that's
even in
extreme,
TV
but
shows, like I think TV shows are one way, like you're saying, just I keep saying discernment, but I think even TV shows, like, think about what mindset they're putting you in, what the main focus of it is, and if it's drawing you towards something and wanting something that, like, you shouldn't. Or
creating unrealistic expectations of, like, your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Of your body, like, of yourself, you know? It's like, oh, this is what real beauty is, or this is what, you know, a real man is, or something.
Yeah, this is what, like my husband needs to be doing to be a good husband.
Look at this romantic thing. Like, I wish that we did something.
The way we're talking.
And then we're like waving our heads back and forth. But like that kind of thing, you know, like it's, those are the places where you don't feel it happening. That's the craziest part. And that's why it's like important. I mean, it's the same thing with like fast food, junk food. Like, you know, you're just eating those Cheez-Its, those Cheddar Jack Cheez-Its. And then lo and behold, one day you look down and your belly isn't what it used to be. You know what I mean? Like, that's a real story.
Well, Well,
anyways, salads.
Salads. I was gonna share some music recommendations.
Okay.
Because I feel like we together, and also I on my own before you, just have slowly been growing my like Christian music base.
Yeah.
Because I do love worship music, but sometimes you do want that like upbeat music that does kind of like get a little hype going into places, and and you might like indie, or you might like rap, or like you have your genre, but you're like, I don't have.
Are there any good Christian artists that also?
Yeah, and there are so many.
Or are there any Christians who make this kind of music? Because it doesn't have to be like a Christian artist, you know? Like, it doesn't have to be like they're creating worship music, but they could just be a Christian who also makes music.
Because I have, one of my favorite artists actually is Forrest Frank, and he's one half of the band Surfaces, which the band Surfaces is not like a Christian band, but all their music is clean, and it's all just like good vibes, kind of like beachy. And then Forrest, who's one of the two guys, he's a Christian, like very outwardly, and he just released some worship music, and then just released a whole album actually, that's like part worship, part love songs, and it's all like clean and great, and like good music, and it's all like, some of it's also more like worship, but like his type of art, and he's just one that I really have started to like more recently. And
it's also made like an impact because the way that he started his music wasn't necessarily as like worship music. Like his most popular music wasn't that way, but now in him doing that, I've seen even some of like the teenagers that attend our church, like I was playing one of our songs on a way back from a mission trip with them, and one of them was like, "Oh dang, dude, I love this guy. Like, he's so great." And it was a Christian song too, and I was just like, "Whoa, what the heck?" Like, it's weird for me to see them knowing what I would think are like newer Christian artists, but it's because he took like a less traditional path.
Like he started off with Surfaces, who got. I mean, he had his own music on the side, but it wasn't really that big because he didn't like put a lot into it. Just like, no, he put a lot into it. I just mean, he Forrest. Didn't market it. I didn't see it that much marketed. I saw Surfaces like everywhere, and I've been to like festivals where they play, and like they're huge, and you'd probably recognize some of their songs even if you didn't know their name. Well, they sang Sunday Best. It's like, feeling good, like I should, went and took a walk around the neighborhood. Nice. You probably recognize that
song. She's like, Forrest, if you need me, I sing harmony.
I'll sing in the background, I'll babysit, your kid.
Okay, that's different. We were just talking about...
Well, his wife is also super cool, so I think they'd just be cool to meet. But anyways... Grace, if you're listening, you seem really sweet. We can be friends. That's one recommendation. But there's a lot of other Christian music I wrote down. Yeah. I wrote down King's Kaleidoscope. Yeah. So I know that you also like them. And he just like pours his heart into his music too. And he's got some different sounding songs that are just really cool. Yeah. And like pours his heart to God, and it's awesome. I put Citizens, Circuit Riders, Antoine Bradford, Isla Vista Worship, Elevation Rhythm. I also put a couple podcasts. Yeah. They're not only for women, but they're two girls. One is Sadie Robertson's podcast, Whoa, That's Good. And the other one is Talk Healthy to Me, which is by Brinley Joyner. And hers is like kind of fitness. Like she has her own business. She talks about like just some different topics, and she's a Christian, and I think it's really good. And then Sadie Robertson's has like tons of advice, and she talks with so many different people. And The Porch also has a podcast that is basically like sermons, like listening to a sermon, but through a podcast way, kind of. Okay. So those are a couple podcasts, just because I've had a lot of trouble over the years finding podcasts I want to listen to. Yeah. And I found out by like talking to other people So I just wanted to share
Yeah,
some, if you're looking for something,
totally.
check those out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's everything on my end too.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I feel like we're kind of swimming now, as one might say, in the deep end of the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What'd you bring to the deep end of the pool?
Well, if we're swimming, I brought my goldfish.
Yeah, which I'll just cut to the video of Gloria trying to eat these goldfish as fast as possible, and that'll be our deep end of the pool. So for everybody who joined us, thank you guys so much. Make sure that you leave a like, a subscribe, follow, and if you're on Spotify, please leave a rating so that we can continue to kind of grow in the algorithm there.
Oh, and here's one last thing. If you listen.
This is super deep end of the pool because it should already be over now. So.
Yeah, please send us questions because we want to do very likely a video in the future with answering questions that you guys send to us.
Yeah.
So I'll put a post up. We'll be putting on our story and stuff like that to give us questions that you want us to answer.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.